What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another video on high altitude investing. I guess live stream technically. There goes my autopilot. Happy to be doing a stream today. We're going to be talking about the crypto markets, and before we get started, I just want to clarify the title of this live stream is a massive crypto breakout is about to happen. But with that, I want to just quickly say that that title is more referring to the bigger picture, because actually in the smaller time frames, I do think it's very possible for Bitcoin to pull back a little bit here in the shorter time frames. Not like a big pullback, not like a new low or anything, but just like a little pullback in the smaller time frames before we go higher. So I just want to clarify that, just so when you guys see the title of this live stream, you don't go, oh, crypto must be getting ready for just this massive breakout right now, like instantly. No, I'm talking about the bigger picture when I title this live stream. So cool. Let's go ahead and share this live stream in Discord and on X so everybody can see that I'm streaming and everybody knows that we're doing a live stream today. Mike Collins, welcome. Matt, good to see you, my friend. And yeah, let's go ahead and share this on X, and we'll get started for the day. So cool. Your post was sent. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, in the bigger picture for crypto, we are getting ready for something massive. I'm talking about one of the biggest crypto bull markets we've ever seen. And this thing is going to be extremely lucrative, extremely profitable. We've already started to see the early signs of this with Bitcoin breaking out to 100K in the bigger time frame and recovering from the whole 2022 kind of crash that happened where everybody got really scared here, right? So, in the bigger picture, we've started to see the early signs of something big for crypto. Now, kind of what I'm seeing here is a massive bull market coming for the entirety of crypto. And we really only just got started with a break above our old all-time high over here at 69K per coin. I mean, if you guys think about it, we just barely broke up above that level. You know, we really haven't seen a lot of upside past our old all-time high. So in the bigger time frame, what we're about to have happen, what I see coming for the crypto markets, is a massive breakout and a lot more upside coming, like a massive uptrend, where that uptrend is sustained, where it continues to increase in value, and the price of a lot of these coins goes completely nuts. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in the bigger picture, that we will get a breakout up above 109K, that we will see continuation, and we will see a lot more upside coming for the crypto markets. Now, with that being said, in the smaller time frames, that's not what I'm seeing. There is a little bit of a potential for a pullback if we drop down to the smaller time frame. But the main purpose of today's live stream is to talk about what's going on in the bigger picture so you guys can get an idea of what to do with your portfolios. Because in no way do I think you should be trying to trade these markets in and out a whole bunch. With your main portfolio, you should always be holding and accumulating. And then when the market is super overvalued, then you want to take profits. There's nothing wrong with trading the markets. There's nothing wrong with swing trading. There's nothing wrong with even day trading and all of those things. But for the majority of your portfolio, the most profitable thing to do is just to hold through the bigger picture cycle and ride these huge pumps that happen inside of crypto, because those are the pumps that really make you the most money, right? So, but with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about the short term as well today, just to cover it so you get an idea of what I'm talking about when I say a potential pullback is coming in the smaller time frames. So let's go down to the 4 hour and we'll talk a little bit about what I'm seeing. Actually, it's on the 1 hour, not the 4 hour. So on the 1 hour time frame with Bitcoin, we do have bearish divergence. So you can see the price of Bitcoin went for a new high here. We went up to a new local high. This was our previous local high right here. And we went up for a new local high right here. Now, what happened to the MACD is a lower low. So we had our previous high right here, or lower high, my bad. And then we have our lower high right here. So that's bearish divergence here on the MACD, to have the price of Bitcoin go up for a higher high and the MACD go for a lower high. That's bearish divergence. So it's very possible that here on these smaller time frames that we do pull back a little bit here as a result of that bearish divergence, and we do have a little bit of a correction. And when I say that, I don't want you guys to be thinking of, oh, Bitcoin is going to go for a new low where it goes like this, whoa, and then crashes all the way down for a new low. That's not what I'm seeing. But I do see the potential for a little bit of a pullback here, kind of back down to major support before the market turns around and goes higher. Just so you guys know, that is something I see as a potential. And if it happens, don't be afraid. Don't panic sell all your crypto, being worried that something like this is going to happen again, because I think that this will be our local bottom and we will continue to go up higher here and we will see a lot more upside here. But in the short term, I really believe it's possible for Bitcoin to pull back just a little bit here before that actually happens. So just be watching for that. Keep that as a potential, something that you're paying attention to as a potential opportunity for buying more or for holding on. But definitely, don't panic sell if Bitcoin comes down to 88K or whatever here. Don't freak out and go, oh no, the markets are going to drop to a new low. I'm scared. Because a lot of people will, and a lot of people will get super bearish if this happens, if the markets pull back right here. A lot of people will get very, very bearish and start to be calling for new lows and thinking in terms of a lot more downside. But I personally believe that 75K down here is going to be our local bottom. It'll prove to be a strong support level, and we will continue to rise here for Bitcoin after we get a potential pullback here in these smaller time frames. But let's talk about the bigger picture, because that's the main kind of purpose of today's live stream. So back to, let's go with the 5-day time frame. Back to the 5-day time frame. You can see just how strong of a recovery we had here with Bitcoin. We had a very nice move up off of these lows right here, which is a very strong recovery all the way back up to 97,000 per coin. So what I think, this will mark our local bottom here for the markets, just like how this marked our local bottom back here last summer, where Bitcoin did break out up above its local high over here at 75K after it bottomed down here at 50K. So that marked our local bottom before we went higher. So I think that the same will be true for over here at 75K per Bitcoin. I believe this will mark our local bottom, and we will break out up above 109K and do what we did over here last year when we broke out up above our local bottom, or our local high, after bottoming out down there. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with Bitcoin here on the 5-day. And actually what's really cool If we take this chart and we pull up the Bitcoin chart back in 2017 and take a look at the chart here, let's pull this up here. I'll show you what I'm thinking about. It's kind of cool because this is a lot like 2017. This whole move right here on Bitcoin, very similar to 2017 when Bitcoin started to bottom out at around 3,000 per coin and then went up all the way to 7,800 right here and another leg up in the market. This is very, very similar in structure as what we just saw with Bitcoin today. So you can see the same kind of structure over here as what happened back in 2017. And I think what we're going to see here, like I said, we could see a little bit of a pullback. Very common for when you're bottoming out, for us to get a pullback down to support like we see right here. So it's very common to have a little bit of a pullback here in the market. And then I think we'll see another big push up, just like we've started to see, up through our local resistance and up to a new all-time high for Bitcoin. And that's going to be exciting. You know, it's going to be really fun to see that happen. Last time that when Bitcoin was in 2017 back here, and it was breaking out in this bull market, and it broke out up above its old all-time high, you can see that we just continued to break out. We just kept going higher and higher until we finally reached 20,000 per coin. And once we hit 20,000 per coin, then the market pulled back. Then we saw a bear market, and then it bottomed out and the whole cycle started all over again, right? And we broke out to a new all-time high. So I see the structure as being very similar right now as what happened in 2017. And I think we could get the same kind of move where Bitcoin went all the way to 20,000 per coin and a huge parabolic run. I think in this bull market, we could get a huge parabolic run on Bitcoin all the way up to who knows how exactly high it's going to go. I think it could go to like 250,000. You know, it could go pretty dang high when it breaks out up above this local high. Now, I don't think it's going to happen all at once. There'll be corrections again before we get to those kinds of levels per coin. But I do think we will get a nice parabolic run for Bitcoin this cycle that will take us all the way up to a new all-time high and kind of like a 2017-like run like we saw where everything went crazy in 2017. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. So welcome, everybody. I see a lot more people tuning in, so thank you for taking some time to tune in to today's stream. And yeah, we'll keep going here. Keep talking about crypto. High-tech redneck. Hold the line, hodlers. Yes, I agree. Definitely keep hodling, as they say in crypto. Hodl. And I think we will see a lot more upside coming for crypto in the bigger picture. So don't lose hope and just keep preparing for big things, you know. Paul, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. And Tony, thank you for tuning in to today's stream. Cool. So that's kind of my view on Bitcoin, right? We're going to have a lot more upside coming for this market. We're going to see a lot more profitable movement in this market. And it's going to be extremely lucrative for the people that buy and hold through the cycle. For the people that are trying to overtrade these markets, I think a lot of times they're going to get screwed over because there's going to be a lot of stuff like what happened right here and what happened over here where people just get irrational. Down here, When Bitcoin was worth 75K, everybody was irrational. They were all talking about all of the world events going on, and they were really bearish on the markets. And then look, it's all the way back up to 97,000 per coin. So there was a lot of irrational behavior going on in the crypto markets. A lot of people that are trading crypto were being irrational down at those levels. So I think for the people that are trying to kind of trade every swing, unless they're really, really, really good traders that are going to get screwed over, but for the people that are willing to just hold throughout the cycle, those are going to be the people that make the most money. They're going to be the people that walk away from this with the most profit, and they're going to make the most money. So definitely remember that there's going to be a lot of irrational movement in the market throughout the cycle. Like right here, back in 2024, when Bitcoin went from 75K down to 50K, the same thing happened. A good majority of all of the traders and investors in this market freaked out. They were really bearish down there. They thought this thing is going to go a lot lower. You know, most people were calling for 30K. Let's be honest. Like 80 to 90% of people were calling for 30K per coin down at those levels. And then look, it recovered all the way back up and broke out to a new all-time high and went to 109,000. And most people that well, at least I don't watch a lot of other crypto channels, honestly, because I try to stay away from other people's opinions and just use what I know to trade and invest in these markets. So I really wasn't watching a lot of other channels, but I was told that a lot of people were calling for 50K down here when we were at 75K, just like a couple weeks ago. So because of that, it just shows just how irrational people get. And the whole way up, the whole bull market, that's the way it's going to be. The market will have a correction, then it'll break out. People will get irrational up here. It'll pull back, and they'll get irrational down here. And they'll call for massive corrections, and it will just recover because the trend is your friend. And if you study any big picture uptrend, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to find that the majority of the time those corrections recover. They don't go into bear markets. They only go into bear markets sometimes, you know. Most of the time those corrections that you see in the market recover, and it just keeps going up. So you have to remember the trend is your friend, and most of these dips that we see throughout the bull market are going to recover. We're going to see more upside after we see those corrections. At some point, a bear market will come, you know. At some point, it will be overvalued, and it will be overextended, and a bear market will have to happen. But most of those corrections are going to be bought right back up, and people are going to get irrational on all of them. And so you just have to remember that, because when the correction actually comes, unfortunately, a good majority of the YouTubers and the people that make content about crypto are going to flip bearish at the bottom of those corrections. It's just the nature of the game. It's just what happens. So pay attention to that and be aware of that, you know. Chronos, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend, tuning in. Mitchell Phillip, LTC and Doge is going to go crazy. I agree with you 100% on that. Octahedron, hey Dallin, can you please do analysis on Atom? Yeah, let's do some Atom analysis. Let's go to 15-day. We'll remove our drawing tools and take a look at what's happening here. So the main purpose of today's live stream is the bigger picture breakout coming for crypto. I did talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen in the short term, but the main purpose of today's live stream is to talk about what's going on in the bigger picture. And in the bigger picture for Cosmos, for Atom here, we do have a wedge structure, and we do have an ABC correction as well. So we have wave A, wave B, and wave C. So that's an ABC correction. And it's very common for these cycles, by the way, to do this. So a market cycle, this is what a market cycle looks like. You get a pump in the market, then you get a pullback. That's called the first sell-off pattern. And then you break out of that first sell-off, and you go in for the thrill, the euphoria, the parabolic run, where everybody gets really excited. They think it's going to go up forever. They're like super, super hyped, you know. Then you turn around like this. You come back up a little bit here. This is a bull trap pattern. And you start to go for the bear market, and we'll use a different color here. We'll use red, like this, just so it's easier to see. And you basically start this bear market, and what happens is you get this huge correction, and then everybody thinks the bottom is in, and it comes back up just a little bit here, and then usually it goes for one more low. Kind of like that. And then it really truly bottoms out. And once it really truly bottoms out, then you get this kind of double bottom pattern a lot of times where the market goes like that, and then it goes up for a new high, a new cycle, and a new uptrend, right? So it kind of looks like that. That's kind of what the market cycle looks like in essence. So what you can see here with Atom is we're really, what I think in terms of the market cycle, we're right here for Atom, where we just had that one more kind of bigger low, and we're getting ready for the double bottom kind of pattern to happen, and then for a huge reversal for this coin. So you can see the cycle here, where we go like this. We bottom out down here. The cycle starts. Here's the first sell-off pattern. We have our parabolic run. Here's our correction. Everybody thinks this is the bottom. Then it goes for one more low, right? Kind of shakes everybody out of the market. And if you look at, for example, like the NASDAQ, is a really good example of this. If we come over here, take a look at the NASDAQ, this is a perfect example of a market cycle, okay? This is what a market cycle looks like. Like if you don't have a copy of the Wall Street cheat sheet that everybody uses to study market cycles, just type in the IXIC on TradingView, and it'll pull up the NASDAQ, and you'll see within just a few minutes exactly what a market cycle looks like. This is the internet bubble, by the way. And what you see here is a huge parabolic run up. You know, here's the first sell-off pattern right here. Then you get a parabolic run. Then you get a correction like this. Then everybody thinks this is the bottom right here. Everybody thinks that the bottom is in. They're all excited. And it goes for one more kind of painful low. And then once that painful low happens, then it recovers. Then you get a huge bullish run in the market, right? And a big recovery. So if you study the cycle here, Not only, by the way, this happens, it doesn't matter if it's the stock market. I mean, look at Bitcoin right here. One of the ways that I was able to determine the bottom on Bitcoin back in 2018 and in 2019 and 2020, when the market had another correction here, was because I was comparing it to the NASDAQ. You can see the cycle. I mean, look how perfect that is. It's the same human emotion that played out during the internet bubble over here that actually played out on Bitcoin too. It's the same thing. So the cycles really do repeat. The psychology really does play out in these markets over and over again. And let's pull up Atom again, and we'll pull up Atom on the right, and we'll keep the NASDAQ over there on the left, and take a look at the cycle and compare the human emotion, and then you'll see kind of what I mean, right? I mean, look at that. It's kind of crazy how it happens. Let's try just a little bit of a bigger time frame here, like maybe the 1 month. There we go. So just in the same way that the NASDAQ had a market cycle over here on the left, Atom did the same thing. Parabolic run, massive pullback. I mean, look at this structure right here, and then look at this structure right here. It's the same thing. Yeah, there's subtle variations in both of these charts, but essentially it's the same thing happening over here on Cosmos is what happened with the NASDAQ over here during the internet bubble. So these cycles really do repeat. They really do have the same kind of patterns over and over again. And it's super cool to see. And it's really powerful to understand, you know, that's kind of how you're able to make the most money in these markets, is to understand the cycle. Let's see, Chris, hey Dallin, what do you think of LTCN? Well, first of all, thank you for the donation, Chris. I really appreciate that. That's means a lot to me to receive those donations, and we'll pull up LTCN for you and do some analysis on it. So this is the Grayscale Litecoin Trust. And we'll pull out the cycle to the bigger picture here. So first you can see we were in a very overvalued phase over here in 2021. And then we had the big kind of crash here in 2022 where we came back down to earth, right? Down to more reasonable levels. And if we pull up this chart here, let's zoom out just a little bit here, and let's do like a 3-day time frame. You can see another example of one of these market cycles. It's actually pretty much it's kind of the same thing that happened with Atom. We have our first sell-off pattern right here. Then we have a parabolic run up here with Grayscale Litecoin Trust. And then we pull back down all the way down to $6 here. And kind of what this is this is a perfect example of a market cycle. False bottom again right here, where people think this is the false or the true bottom, but it's really a false bottom. And it goes down for one more low. And yeah, this is a really good example of a market cycle here with LTCN. Now, one of the things that I really like about this chart is the bullish divergence on the MACD. So we do have a lower low in price right here, but one really strong sign that this likely is the bottom of this correction for LTCN is the higher low on the MACD. That's a really, really good sign to see a higher low on the MACD. So while price is making a lower low right here, the MACD made a higher low. So there's a divergence. They're diverging from each other. That's bullish divergence in this case. And that's a really strong buy signal. And usually it leads to a huge breakout in the market and a nice recovery where the market sees a bottom and a lot more upside coming as a result of that bullish divergence. So I really, really like that about this chart. The other thing that we see here with this chart is, let me pull out just a little bit here, is a nice 1 and 2 wave. So we have our first wave right here and our second wave right here. And now we're looking for wave 3. So wave 3 is going to be more impulsive than what we saw over here in 2024 during this run up here. It's going to be more parabolic and more impulsive than what we saw in 2021 or 2024, my bad. So watch for a breakout coming for this stock. And when it happens, it should be bigger than wave 1 because wave 3 is bigger than wave 1. So it should be very parabolic and very vertical upon the breakout. So I do think big things will happen for this stock, for this coin. Because I guess it's Litecoin Grayscale Trust, so it's not really a coin technically. But I am bullish on Litecoin, just so you know. And in terms of market capitalization, or not market cap, percentage gain. In terms of percentage gain from these lows, if we measure from the low out, you're talking about 1,500% just to $100 per share. So that's a really nice gain, you know. Wave 3 could be extremely profitable for Grayscale Litecoin Trust. So I'm definitely bullish on this, and I definitely think we will see a nice wave 3, and I definitely like the bullish divergence down here on the MACD. So I'm going to grab some water here. So yeah, looks good. I like this setup a lot. AJ says, I would appreciate Bell's coin analysis. Yeah, let's do this. As a side note, Dogecoin was forked from Bell's. I had no idea about that. That's really interesting. Bell's. Bell's coin on CoinX. Nice. So it's starting to do what we talked about in my last live stream. So in the last live stream, or maybe it was the one before, I don't remember, but in one of the most recent live streams that I did, we talked a little bit about Bell's coin here. And one of the things we talked about was a double bottom coming for this coin. So talking about a little bit of a move up off of these lows and the potential for a double bottom to happen. So we do see the price of this coin coming up off of these lows and heading up towards our local resistance, just exactly as we wanted it to do. And let's go ahead and take the Elliott wave thing off there for a second. Now what we want to see happen here for this coin is a breakout through local resistance. So we're at local resistance right now. So we want to see a breakout above that level. And for a clear breakout, not just like a little one, but like a clear breakout where we really start to break out up above that level. And if we do get a clear breakout up above this resistance level right here for Bell's coin, then I suspect we will see a lot more upside in the short term. We're worth 26 cents right now, so we could go all the way up to 55 upon the breakout. So if we can get above 30 cents with confidence, then I suspect we will head up towards 55 cents per Bell's coin. So watch for something like that. Watch for a nice breakout and a nice push up higher here in the shorter time frame as a result of that double bottom. But I believe in the last live stream that I made, we were kind of down here, and we've already moved up since then, which is a really good sign. I think we will break out through this local resistance and start to see a little bit more upside off of these lows up towards 50 cents. So that could be a doubling in price. We're worth 26, so that'd be like, around 100% gain off of these lows. In the bigger picture, I still see the same thing. This would be wave 1, this would be wave 2, and we'd be watching for wave 3 to happen in the market where we really start to break out in the bigger picture. But that's going to take time. That's not going to happen overnight. With crypto, things do move really quickly. The thing is a lot of times you'll see a big bear market, and it'll be really long and really painful, and everybody will give up, and everybody will think it's going to go down forever. Then all of a sudden, all at once, the price will just skyrocket, and it won't just like skyrocket a little bit, it'll just keep skyrocketing. Like it'll happen like really fast. So the bull markets do happen really fast. Historically, for crypto, we've seen really, really fast pumps after really long, painful bear markets. So just understand that when this thing does turn around, it could happen pretty quickly, where all of a sudden it's just pumping super hard, but it's still not going to happen overnight. It's still going to take a little bit of time before we really start to go fast like that and start to go parabolic and really move quickly. But I do think in the short term we will head up towards 50 cents. LTCN had premiums in 2024, and now the premiums are not coming back due to probably the LTC ETF. Very interesting. Yeah, I'd have to kind of look into that. I don't know a lot about that, but the chart does look good. It's still grayscale. The grayscale charts do look good to me. A lot of those grayscale trusts do look really good, and I do see a lot more upside coming for them. So let's see here. ADA looking good right now. Yeah, let's do some ADA analysis. I'm actually kind of a big fan of ADA. I especially like the creator of ADA. He always makes me laugh. Every time I see his posts on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, X, I always laugh because he's just so funny to me. I like Charles. He's cool. So yeah, the bigger picture for this coin is very, very, very simple, very straightforward. Let's pull it up here. Brave Liquid Index, BLX. So a lot of people don't know about this, but on TradingView, this isn't good. So the BLX chart, the Brave Liquid Index, isn't good for doing volume analysis. It's only good for doing price analysis. But the volume kind of sucks, so don't use this to do volume analysis. But you can use, it's called the BLX on TradingView. You just type in BLX, and it's really, really powerful for doing volume or not volume, price analysis, I mean. So if you want to, the reason it's powerful for doing price analysis is because it goes all the way back down to the very first Bitcoin cycle. So it's the only place I know of that you can really get all of the historical data on Bitcoin. There might be one or two other places, but this is really the only place where you can get all of the old cycles. So I like to use this chart, the Brave Liquid Index, BLX is what it's called. And if we pull this chart up here and stretch out a little bit and go back down to the very first cycle for Bitcoin, the very first one that it ever had, you can see that Bitcoin looks identical to what's happening right now on ADA. So early day Bitcoin is really a spitting image of what's happening with early day Cardano, whatever you want to call it. So this looks phenomenal. It looks amazing. To me, it looks really good. And I think we will see more upside here, more bullishness off of these lows, just like what we see over here with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin kind of had to have some pumps and some dumps and some pumps and some more dumps right here before it really started to pump. That's what I see with ADA. That's kind of what's been happening here with this coin, with ADA. So I do believe we will see a big pump for ADA, like a really parabolic run up to a new all-time high, up above its old one, and a nice profitable move for this coin. So I do agree ADA looks really good, and it looks a lot like the old Bitcoin chart. What's up, brother? BCH. Hope everyone is well. Keep the faith. The moonshot is inbound. Yeah, let's do some Bitcoin Cash analysis real quick here. Coinbase, there we go. So my view on BCH hasn't changed since my last live stream, so it's kind of just the same stuff all over again. But essentially, we do have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and then a fifth wave right here. Then we have our A, B, C down, A, B, and C like that. And I think we're going to see more upside coming. We're going to see, I mean, we've already seen a nice move off of these lows. You know, that was 600% gains just off the bottom down here up to the local high. So that's a pretty nice move in terms of percentage gain. And if you look right here, I think we will see another impulse wave coming because we do have 5 waves up and an ABC down. So that means we're going to see another impulse wave, right? Wave 3. Because Elliott waves is just a fractal. So if you get a bullish impulse wave and an ABC correction, then you're going to see another bullish impulse wave coming as a result of that. It just fractals, you know, there's waves inside of waves. So that's why you can do what's called subwave counts, where you're counting the waves inside of a bigger picture wave set. So that's what I see coming for Bitcoin Cash, a nice breakout here. I think the next major kind of price target for this coin will be between 1,000 per coin and 1,200. So that'd be kind of the zone I'd look for upon breakout. And the reason why is because wave 3 goes to at least the 1618 Fibonacci extension. So you grab this trend-based fib tool and you go from the bottom to the top and then back down. And the 1618 is 1,200 per BCH. So that's the minimum target for wave 3. It has to at least go to that level. If we are going to get a wave 3 here, it has to at least go to that level. That's the very minimum target for wave 3. So otherwise it wouldn't be a valid extension. It wouldn't really be a valid wave 3. We need to reach that level. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin Cash. Took profit too soon on Cardano today. You know, Matthew, that does happen. That's why I tell people to focus on the bigger picture. It's just a lot easier. You have to hold for longer. You have to be more patient, but you're going to make way more money way easier that way. You won't have to be a professional trader. You can just literally hold. So XRP, or not XRP, XPR network, please. Okay, we can do XPR network. I think we did that one last time too, but I would be more than happy to do some XPR network for you. So kind of the same thing we talked about last time. Not a lot has changed on this one. Just, this looks a lot like early day Bitcoin Cash, you know, it's just the same thing. We'll pull up BCH here on Coinbase. Go over here. And we'll pull up the daily candlesticks will probably be what we want. And we'll zoom in a little bit here and pull out on the chart. And this kind of move right here for BCH is very similar to what just happened on XPR. Again, you guys, markets are fractal in nature, so you will see the same patterns, even if it's a different cycle, a different market, it could be like silver, it could be gold, it could be all, oh goodness, I keep accidentally pressing the wrong one. Whoops. Let me go over here, fix this. There we go. It could be silver, it could be gold, it could be a whole bunch of different things. And the same patterns are going to repeat because markets are fractal in nature. If you don't know what a fractal is, I did it again. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to get these two charts lined up and I keep pressing the wrong button. Part of life, right? There we go. Now I click on this one and fix the time frame. There we go. Okay, cool. So if you don't know what a fractal is, go ahead and look up fractal on Google. My caps lock is on. There we go. It's really a repeating pattern where the smallest parts are the same as the biggest parts. So here's an example of a fractal right here. Here's an example of a fractal right here. Yeah, a tree is a fractal, you know. The branches look the same as the bigger branches. It's a fractal. So that's the same with markets. The little cycle looks like the big cycle. And also you can compare one chart to another chart and you're going to see the same pattern because the same pattern is repeating on all of these different markets and all these different time frames. So it's called a fractal, right? And you can see here with XPR and with Bitcoin Cash, XPR right now looks a lot like early day Bitcoin Cash right here. It's a fractal of the same kind of structure in the market. So that's a really good sign for XPR because it means that it's very likely that we see more upside coming in that market and that we do break out up above our local resistance here and go a lot higher, just like how Bitcoin Cash did right here. You know, it broke out to a new high and went a lot higher. It just had to kind of bottom out down here first before it did, and I think XPR will really do the same thing. So markets are fractal in nature. You will see the same patterns appearing in these markets over and over again. in the small time frame, the big time frame, and gold and silver and crypto and stocks, you're going to see the same patterns. So I tried to get your email for a private message for 3 years. Dead end. You might have the wrong email. I don't know. Let me send you my email right now. If people send me emails, I respond to them. Unless for some reason it's getting sent to spam or something. I always respond to people. I always send people emails if they send me one. So unless it's like spammy, if it looks spammy to me, or people are trying to like market to me or something, or get me to promote their project, then I normally won't respond to them. But if you just wanted to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk to you over email and answer any questions that you might have about trading and investing, or really anything else. So I went to your home page. You mean on my website? I wonder if I have an old email there. Contact. Let's see what this... Open link in new tab. Got it. I might have an old email there. I don't know. It's hard to say. Here's my right email, though. highaltitudeinvesting@gmail.com. So I just sent it to you. Send me an email. And you can probably... I'm sure I'll get back to you. I don't know if you were sending it to that email or not, but just put in the subject title, just put like, hey, we talked in live stream or something, and I'll make sure to get back to you. But when people send me emails, I always get back to them. So you might have had the wrong email, or something went wrong. So just try to send it there. So cool. So the reason I never talk about BSV anymore is really because Craig Wright's website says that he isn't Satoshi. So I kind of like... One of the reasons I was interested in BSV was because I kind of thought Craig Wright could potentially be Satoshi based on the little bit of research that I had done. And I don't know if that's true anymore. So I just haven't been talking about it. But the chart looks good, like from a technical perspective. It does look like it could break out still. It's not like it looks bad. It did get removed from OKX recently, the exchange, but the chart does have bullish divergence down here. So that's a good thing. It could still pump, I'm not saying it can't pump. I don't know. We'll have to see with BSV. It's not my main focus right now, basically. I've got other stuff I'm focused on, so. But it definitely could pump. I'm not saying it can't go crazy or anything. I've seen stuff in these markets that just completely blew me away. And it's very possible that this still can see a cycle. So, that'd be my answer to that. The biggest common concern is the massive blockchain. Isn't it like 10 billion? Let's see. Fanta, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I didn't see your earlier messages, so I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Let's see. We just did XPR or XPRT. Maybe XPRT is different. I don't know. XPRT. Yeah, XPRT does look like it's different. That's persistence. We can do persistence. So this coin is, oh man, this isn't a massive downtrend. So this could bottom soon. You have to be careful buying stuff like this where there isn't any clear sign of a bottom yet. This is kind of like trying to catch a falling knife. We do have volume coming in that could be good, but you just have to be careful buying stuff like this. the trend is your friend, and that works for both directions. So if something's going down like this and it's just not showing any signs of a bottom, it can just keep going, and it can keep going, and it can keep going and keep going. And if it is showing signs of a bottom like this, and you start to see volume coming in and some type of bullish reversal like double bottom or something, then you start to pay attention, because then you're starting to get an early sign of a reversal. But in this case, we don't see that yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. It could happen next week. We could start to see a double bottom for this coin. But you just have to be careful buying things that are in massive downtrends. You just want to be careful. Just like how you want to try to find something that's in an uptrend and buy the dip in the uptrend and play the dip and really hold through the pumps. The same is true for a downtrend. You don't really want to try to buy a downtrend because you don't know when it's going to bottom out. So for an uptrend, you want to buy it because there's a clear trend. Just like Bitcoin, Bitcoin is in a clear uptrend. Bitcoin has established itself. This thing is in a clear uptrend. It makes higher highs and higher lows. And it's going to continue to do that. It's very, very, very likely that Bitcoin continues to make higher highs and higher lows for quite some time before this bull market stops, And if you don't understand uptrends, then go study other markets. Go study the Dow Jones, For example, the Dow Jones is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, with uptrends just continually going higher and higher. If you go look at the early day Dow Jones, and you look at this uptrend, and we'll go even to a little bit of a higher time frame to really illustrate my point, like maybe the 2-month here. Look at this uptrend. Yeah, there was the Great Depression, but even that recovered. Here's the Great Depression right here. Here's the Roaring 20s, which I think we're actually kind of getting ready for another Roaring 20s, in like a repeat of the same kind of thing. And then here's the Great Depression right here. And then look at this. Look at this uptrend. The trend is your friend. Look how long this thing just kept seeing higher highs and higher lows. All these corrections, everybody thought this was going to be the top, and then it wasn't. That's what happens to markets. People don't understand when the floodgates open and demand for something just increases because there's a real use case for it and there's real demand, the uptrend just continues. People in crypto especially don't understand this because we've been in a massive accumulation cycle on altcoins, and that accumulation cycle has made it look like the market just goes up and then has a bear market. But an accumulation cycle looks like that. It looks like a pump and a dump and a pump and a dump. So a lot of people in crypto don't understand what an uptrend really is. They just know, the market goes up and then it dumps. And yeah, it does have corrections, but a real true uptrend, this is what a real true uptrend looks like. It's sustained. It keeps going higher. And then people think it's the top, like here in 2008. And then look what happened. It went higher. So a real market trend is just going to keep, the trend really is your friend. Look how long this thing has been going up. Yeah, big corrections along the way, for sure. Some massive recessions, even a Great Depression down here in 1930s, But it recovered from the Great Depression, and if you look at how much the market grew after the Great Depression, you can't even see the Great Depression on the chart anymore. So this is why it's so important to think in terms of big picture and to think in terms of what happens over time, because markets, the trend is your friend. Markets just keep going up, Look at gold. If you go to macrotrends.net, you can get a big picture chart of gold going all the way back over 100 years. And if we take it off the log scale and we turn off inflation adjusted, I mean, look how long gold has been in an uptrend. We can go back to the 1920s, and it's just been going up all this whole time. And same with the stock market. So yeah, there are corrections, sometimes even big corrections, sometimes even things like depressions, sometimes recessions. But the market overall goes up. And just understand that is really powerful. Not everything does. Some stuff doesn't keep a demand. Some stuff, there isn't a real demand for it, and so it dies and stops going up in value and doesn't go up anymore. But if there's real demand for something like gold or silver, and crypto's a lot like that. Crypto has real demand. It's kind of like the digital precious metal in a lot of ways. So crypto over the long term is just going to keep increasing in value. Yes, it will have the equivalent of a recession from time to time. And yeah, it will have some pretty big corrections, but it's going to keep going up in value over time. And the more that you understand that, the more profitable you're going to be. So that's really what you got to get in your head about the crypto markets. And, a lot of people don't realize that the altcoin markets have been inside of a multi-year accumulation. And so it really kind of looked like this. But they don't know that when you're in an uptrend, once you start an uptrend instead of an accumulation cycle, then the markets really just trend, and they just keep trending up and keep going higher. And that really, that's the thing that crypto people don't understand that a lot of times. They just think, oh, it might go up for another year, maybe another 6 months, and then we're going to get another bear market again, guys. No. It doesn't have to do that. Like it's not something it has to do. The trend can continue, and the trend really is your friend. And when it starts, you can ride that trend and trust it and buy the dip. Pay off my house or invest in crypto. What should I do? I can't tell you what to do with your money. I will tell you that I'm very bullish on crypto. I'm really bullish on it. So I can tell you that I personally believe the crypto markets will go a lot higher from here. But eventually you're going to want to pay off your house, whether it's right now or whether it's later. You don't want to be in debt, right? So that'd be what I have to say about that. Just, it's not my choice to make or anything like that, but how do you differentiate the price going up as the value of our currency versus the value of our currency? Why can't you do both? Go all in on either. Oh, I see what he's saying. Yeah, so the dollar is going down right now, which is one of the reasons you do want to be investing in different things. When the dollar is going down, that's not really, people want to hold a lot of money in cash, but it's not very smart to do. If you look at the dollar over time, since 1967, it goes down. Yeah, there's a pump here and there, but this thing is in a downtrend. Like the dollar's in a downtrend. So that isn't going to change anytime soon. Just like how the crypto bull market probably isn't going to turn into a bear market anytime soon. Over the big picture, crypto is in a bull market. It's in an uptrend. And over the big picture, the dollar is in a downtrend. So this thing probably will keep going down. It could do, who knows what can happen in the shorter time frame. I don't know. It could do this one more time before it does that. But overall, the dollar's going to keep going down. over the bigger picture. And it's definitely possible for it to go lower even right now, like at our local price down here, and go down like that. So just understand that the dollar is in a downtrend. So yeah, the dollar isn't going to be increasing in value anytime soon over the long term. Unless we change like a lot about the dollar, like go back on the gold standard and all kinds of different stuff, stop hyperinflating our currency. Unless we stop a lot of things that there's no signs of us stopping, the dollar is going to remain in a downtrend and keep going lower. And so yeah, that's really good for crypto. That's really good for investors of any market, really. You know, that's half the reason that a lot of stuff goes up in value. Now, that doesn't mean that things don't increase in value. They do. Like, the value of stuff also increases. It's not just the price of the dollar going down and then everything looks like it's increasing. There's that too. The price of the dollar does go down, so it does make it look like the price of other things are increasing, but the value of things are also increasing at the same time. Like if you calculate, for example, if you go to the S&P 500, or we'll go to maybe the Dow Jones, right? Market indices, the Dow Jones. If you look at the Dow Jones calculated for inflation, it still increases in value, right? This is still an uptrend over time. The Dow Jones is increasing in value over time, even calculating for hyperinflation. So it's not just that the dollar's going down and it makes it look like things are increasing. Things are both increasing in value and the price of the dollar is going down. So, but if you remove inflation adjusted right here, look at that. Look how much more it looks like it went up in value if you don't calculate for inflation. So inflation does play a big role in all of this. You know, you can see just how much it looks like it pumped, and then you calculate for inflation and it still looks like it pumped, but not near as drastically as if you're not calculating for inflation. So you can see what I mean by both things are happening. The value of things are increasing and the value of the dollar is decreasing. So if you combine those two things together, it looks like the charts are just going crazy over the long term. But if you calculate for inflation, then it just looks like they're steadily climbing. It doesn't look so pronounced, you know. So that's something to keep in mind. But the crypto markets, they're going to keep increasing in value. You know, they're inside of a big picture uptrend, just like how the Dow Jones is. And they're going to keep increasing in value over the long term. They're not going to go anywhere. Not every single one. Some of them will completely die and never be used again and just go down and never recover. That's going to happen. I've seen it happen many times. But there will be the ones that stay. And the ones that stay will be just like the Dow Jones or gold. They're just going to increase in value over the long term. Even if there's a depression, even if there's a massive recession, it will recover over the long term. So that's super important to understand, is to invest in the right coins, to invest in the coins that are going to stay around, to do your due diligence and do your research, and then understand that over the bigger picture, crypto isn't going anywhere. It's going to increase over the long term if you have the right coins. So yeah, kind of cool, right? If you take off the log scale, you can see the Dow Jones has increased in value calculating for inflation significantly. Like it's seen a significant increase in value if you calculate for inflation. But if you don't calculate for inflation, it looks like it just went nuts. I mean, look at that. It looks like it went straight up over the long term, right? So that's how much the value of the dollar is decreasing over time. We do live in a world where the dollar is hyperinflated. And it happens in America, but it happens even more in other countries. So crazy how the 1920s charts rhythm with the charts now, the underground world, the Great Reset in 2030, the underground word, the Great Reset in 2030, 100 years later, it rhythms with the 1930 Great Depression. Mega crash looks like 2030. Yeah, so I definitely think that could happen. The charts do look lined up for that, where we could have a big repeat of the Roaring 20s, an increase in value on a lot of different things until like 2030 or 2029, and then have a big crash in the world markets and in crypto. It does look like it's set up for like a repeat of what happened in the 1930s, only 100 years later. So I agree with that 100%. Very informative. Might contact you by email for sure. Yeah, Jay Van Patten, definitely contact me through email. I'll send you my email right now, actually, and I would love to chat with you. So, Jay Van Patten, high altitude investing at gmail.com. There you go. Shoot me an email. I'd be very happy to talk with you about crypto and anything else. So, all right, cool. We're an hour and 11 minutes in today, so I'm going to call it a day. And yeah, I think we talked about some pretty good stuff. And just a little recap, invest in the big picture, focus on the bigger picture for crypto, try to get those good setups that are going to be worth something over the long term. Remember that there will be corrections, there will be recessions, there will be drops along the way, but over the long term, if there's demand for something, it's going to increase in value, especially since we hyperinflate the dollar. So that's going to increase the value of crypto. But also, just if there's demand for something, it's going to be worth more to people. Their perception of its value is going to increase because people need it. There's a demand for it. And a lot of cryptos have real world use cases, and the demand for it is going to continue to increase over the long term. And then also we talked a little bit about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin could potentially, over the very short term, see a little bit of a pullback here in the shorter time frame, like the 1 hour time frame here. We could pull back just a little bit here on Bitcoin, but I think it's going to recover. So we have bearish divergence on Bitcoin here. And I think it could recover very quickly, but I think we could pull back just a little bit here in the short term based on that bearish divergence. But my main focus of today's live stream is the bigger picture for Bitcoin and for the rest of the crypto markets, because over the bigger picture, I see a lot more upside coming in these markets. So cool. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.